Great. Thank you, Patricia, so much. Yay, it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is a great topic to cover, and as Patricia told me, some of you are newer to blogging and some of you have a little more experience, and I think I've put this together so that it will benefit both of you, whatever level of experience you're coming from. So the topic of today is how to bring your experience from an event to your blog. And the reason that Patricia asked me, she just gave you a bit of my bio, so you know that I work with women on helping them share their story, share their message, and share their voice from their lens, whatever events they might be attending, whatever experiences they're having. I'm going to give you a teeny bit more background, and then I'm going to launch right into covering an event. We're going to look at what to do before the event, what to do at the event, and then how to shape the piece after the event. So as you see, that's a little picture of me. Hello, everyone. And so I cover women's issues and also write about organizations and events that empower women and girls. For example, you all. So maybe sometime soon I'll be writing about you in the Huffington Post. I would love to do that. I started in my 20s in journalism and politics, and I worked for CNN, National Geographic magazine. In politics, I worked for the Women's Campaign Fund, and I was really starting on a trail of journalism and politics. And then I shifted to more of a spiritual route and spent a few months over in, a few years over in Nepal, India, Southeast Asia, also the Middle East, and in Europe. And I began doing work as a yoga teacher. And I'm telling you this all because it will fit into how, when I talk about how to cover an event, some of these aspects that have a little more of a spiritual nature to them will come into play. But through that experience over in Southeast Asia in particular, I became very interested in and passionate about human rights, in particular the rights of Tibetans. And I became a reporter and an editor for the Free Tibet campaign, and also an advocate for Tibetans. Okay, so I'm going to skip some of there's a lot more, of course, to my history here, as there is probably for many of us. But I'll jump to the last point here with the Goddess Diaries. This is actually my blog, and it's the avenue that I actually use to discover my own voice. And again, I share this with you because blogging is really about discovering your own voice in the process. That's kind of the beauty of blogging. And I just want to emphasize that when you are covering an event, it's not about being the expert journalist, and certainly we're going to bring in some of those skills, but it's really about the process of discovery that you had during the event, the very personal moments and moments that excited you or inspired you. That is what makes a blog so fresh and exciting for the readers. So my blog is called The Goddess Diaries, and that is where I put some of my event coverage, and I also post as well in the Huffington Post. Okay, so you got quite a bit about me there, and I'm just sharing that with you for some context. Now, these slides I just jumped to here are some of the places I've gone to events. These are the press passes, and I'm showing these to you so we can talk a little bit about that at some events you will actually need a press credential to be there. And this is something that we can talk about in more detail a little bit later in the presentation on how to actually go about getting those press passes and which events you need them for, which you don't, and who to talk to get them, and so on. So I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. And then we're going to go to this point before the event. Okay. So Patricia told me that some of you are going to be attending the Jump Rope-a-thon coming up, I believe on April 9th. So some of you, while you're listening to this, might have that event on your mind. There might be some other things you have on your calendar that you're thinking about attending, or you want to attend and you maybe weren't sure or didn't have the knowledge yet about could you actually cover this for your blog. So let's talk about this. Before you attend an event, one of the best things to do is get to know everything about the event, and I say here on the slide, get to know it online, because most events have a website, and they're going to give you some history about the event, some important statistics, the different people involved. So you're just going to do as much research as you can to soak in everything about the event. Now, for the Jump Rope-a-thon, I don't know if there's a website, or because it's being sponsored by your organization, you might actually be creating the website on it. So this will maybe apply a little differently. But if there were another event that you weren't part of the hosting committee for, you would need to do quite a bit of research. And so while you're doing that research, you're going to ask yourself, what inspires you about this event? And not only ask yourself this, but take your notebook, the notebook that you're actually going to bring to the event, and start making notes about that. Just, write kind of freestyle. What is it about the event that inspires you? And also along with that, while you're doing your research, you're going to see some of the key people involved. So who do you want to interview? Who specifically, and also why? And again, make notes for yourself here. And it doesn't mean just because you're making these notes, this is going to be the final plan. But just start digging in. This kind of pre-work before you attend the event is going to make your writing that much easier for you by the time you get to writing your blog. Okay, so once you've picked out a few key people who you want to interview, what is it that you actually want to ask them? I would brainstorm at least 5 questions for the different people. You'll probably get a chance to ask about 2 or 3, just because, events can be busy. And so that's usually, about 2 or 3, but it's good to have more than you actually need, because one might seem more appropriate to you than another at the time. So that's good to do. And you can also, even though you're talking to different people, you can ask some of them the same question. So that's fine too. By the way, a pause here. While I'm speaking, if there are questions that come up for you that, come up right away, just send them in on chat, and I'll take pauses here and there to address your question. So please feel free to do that. I invite you to do that. Okay, so you've made your list of questions. Then you're going to answer for yourself, how are you going to document your interviews? So when you're at the event, are you going to have an audio recorder? Are you going to try to do everything by notes? I tell you, I highly recommend having an audio recorder. And that way you can be so much more present with the person who you're interviewing, and then you can be sure to get their quotes exactly. And it can also just help to review, when you're writing your blog, just to listen to those again. It kind of gets you back into the setting. So if you have access to an audio recorder, I highly recommend taking that along with you. Okay, and then